Some events pierce through the noise, cutting through the everyday hum of life with a force that is both sudden and profound. They capture our attention, demanding that we pause and acknowledge the magnitude of what has occurred, leaving an indelible mark on our collective memory. These are the moments that define us, shaping our understanding of the world and our place within it. The crash of Air India Flight 171 on June 12, 2025, a seemingly ordinary day that would soon be etched in history for all the wrong reasons, is one such event. A stark reminder of the fragility of life and the unpredictable nature of fate. For the 242 souls aboard, each with their own stories, dreams, and loved ones, the flight from Ahmedabad to London, a journey connecting continents and lives, it was supposed to be a routine trip, a transatlantic flight carrying hopes, aspirations, and the mundane realities of travel. But within moments of leaving the ground, as the aircraft climbed into the sky, carrying its precious cargo of human lives, their journey ended in catastrophe, a sudden and violent end that defied all expectations. Sending shockwaves across India, a nation united in grief and disbelief, and the global aviation community, prompting immediate concern and a flurry of investigations. This tragedy was not just a headline. It wasn't just another news story to be consumed and forgotten. It was a profound loss that touched countless lives. Families were torn apart, futures were extinguished, and a collective sense of sorrow settled over the land. On the ground, it brought devastation to a quiet neighborhood, turning homes into rubble and shattering the peace of unsuspecting residents, adding innocent victims to its toll. Expanding the circle of grief and highlighting the indiscriminate nature of such disasters. The incident became a somber landmark in India's history, a date forever associated with loss and mourning, prompting a period of mourning and deep reflection, a time for the nation to come together, to offer support and remember those who were lost. The search for understanding began almost immediately, as investigators descended upon the crash site, meticulously gathering evidence and piecing together the events that led to the tragedy, driven by the need to know not just what happened, to understand the sequence of events that culminated in the crash, but why. What combination of factors, whether human error, mechanical failure, or unforeseen circumstances, led to such a devastating outcome? The story of Flight 171 is not just about a crash. It's not simply a tale of metal and fire, but about the complex interplay between human action, technology, and unforeseen disaster. A reminder of the intricate systems that keep us safe in the skies, and the potential for even the smallest flaw to have catastrophic consequences. As we look back, reflecting on the events of that fateful day, it is with profound sorrow, a deep sense of loss for the lives that were cut short, and a commitment to uncovering the full truth, ensuring that lessons are learned and that such a tragedy is never repeated. On June 12, 2025, a seemingly ordinary day was about to turn into a nightmare. The date is etched in the memory of a nation, a stark reminder of how quickly tragedy can strike. It was a Thursday, the skies were clear, and the promise of summer hung in the air. Little did anyone know that this day would be marked by an unimaginable disaster. Air India Flight 171, a scheduled passenger flight, departed Ahmedabad's Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport for London Heathrow. The flight was expected to be routine, a transatlantic journey connecting two major cities. The aircraft assigned to this route was a Boeing 787 Dreamliner, a modern, technologically advanced aircraft known for its fuel efficiency and passenger comfort. This particular Dreamliner had a spotless safety record, adding to the sense of normalcy that morning. 242 people were on board, passengers from all walks of life, eager to reach their destinations. Families, business travelers, students, and tourists filled the seats, each anticipating their arrival in London. Each passenger carried their own story, their own hopes and dreams. Some were embarking on new adventures, others were returning home to loved ones. Little did they know that their journeys would be tragically cut short. The day was clear, with excellent visibility, perfect for flying. The sun shone brightly, casting a warm glow over the airport and the surrounding city. It was a picture-perfect day, belying the impending disaster. Standard pre-flight checks were meticulously carried out, and all systems appeared to be functioning normally. The pilots, seasoned professionals with years of experience, went through their checklists with diligence, ensuring the safety of their passengers. No anomalies were detected, no warning signs raised. At 1:39 p.m., the plane lifted off smoothly from the runway, its powerful engines roaring as it ascended into the sky. The takeoff was flawless, the aircraft climbing steadily, leaving behind the bustling city of Ahmedabad. The initial phase of the flight seemed uneventful, beginning what should have been a routine flight across continents. The pilots communicated with air traffic control, confirming their altitude and heading, everything proceeding as planned. But just as the aircraft was gaining altitude, reaching a critical point in its ascent, a sudden and unexpected catastrophe unfolded. The sense of normalcy shattered in an instant, replaced by a terrifying realization. Something went terribly wrong, defying all expectations and plunging the flight into a desperate struggle for survival. The pilots faced an unimaginable crisis, a scenario they had trained for but never expected to encounter. The flight, which had begun with such promise, lasted only about 30 seconds after takeoff. A mere half-minute separated a routine departure from utter devastation. 30 seconds to change everything. Suddenly, and without warning, the plane lost all power, a complete and catastrophic failure of its propulsion systems. The engines, the heart of the aircraft, ceased to function, leaving the pilots with no means of controlling their descent. Both engines failed simultaneously at the most critical phase of flight, during initial climb, leaving the aircraft vulnerable and uncontrollable. This unprecedented dual-engine failure defied all safety protocols and redundancy measures. The silence in the cockpit, once filled with the hum of instruments and the pilot's calm communication, must have been chilling, a stark contrast to the chaos unfolding around them. The sudden loss of power would have been accompanied by a deafening quiet, broken only by the alarms and the pilot's desperate attempts to regain control. Unable to maintain altitude with no engine power to sustain its flight, the aircraft began a rapid and uncontrolled descent. The pilots fought valiantly to regain control, but their efforts were in vain. The stricken aircraft crashed into the hostel block of BJ Medical College, a densely populated area filled with students and staff. The impact was devastating, turning a place of learning into a scene of unimaginable horror. The crash site was a busy area in Ahmedabad, a bustling urban environment that amplified the scale of the tragedy. The surrounding streets were filled with traffic and pedestrians, all caught unaware of the impending disaster. The impact was catastrophic, a violent collision that ripped through the building and scattered debris across a wide area. The force of the crash was immense, leaving behind a scene of utter destruction. The crash resulted in a massive explosion and fire, engulfing the wreckage and surrounding buildings in flames. The inferno raged uncontrollably, fueled by aviation fuel and the debris of the crash. Emergency services rushed to the scene, sirens wailing as ambulances, fire trucks, and police vehicles converged on the disaster site. The first responders were met with a scene of unimaginable chaos and devastation. But the devastation was overwhelming, the scale of the disaster exceeding anything they had ever encountered. Rescue workers battled tirelessly to extinguish the flames and search for survivors amidst the wreckage. Of the 242 souls on board the ill-fated flight, only one miraculously survived the crash. A single survivor emerged from the wreckage, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit amidst unimaginable tragedy. Tragically, 19 people on the ground, students and staff at the medical college, also lost their lives in the disaster. Innocent bystanders caught in the path of destruction, their lives cut short without warning. In a matter of seconds, 260 precious lives were lost, a devastating toll that left a nation reeling in grief. Families were torn apart, futures were extinguished, and a community was left to mourn the unimaginable loss. India was left in shock and disbelief, struggling to comprehend the magnitude of the tragedy. The nation mourned the loss of its citizens, united in grief and solidarity. The Air India Flight 171 disaster became a somber reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of aviation safety. The crash of Flight 171, a routine domestic flight turned into an unimaginable catastrophe, marked the darkest day in Indian aviation in decades. The event sent shockwaves throughout the country, leaving families shattered and a nation in mourning. It was a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the inherent risks associated with air travel, despite all the advancements in safety and technology. The sheer number of casualties, including passengers and crew, stunned the nation and the world. News outlets broadcasted the tragic event around the clock, and social media platforms were flooded with messages of condolences and support for the victims' families. Flags were flown at half-mast across the country, and a national day of mourning was declared to honor the lives lost. The government pledged a full and transparent investigation into the causes of the crash, promising to implement any necessary measures to prevent similar tragedies in the future. For Air India, it was the first fatal crash since the bombing of Flight 182 in 1985, a painful reminder of past tragedies and the constant need for vigilance in aviation security. The airline faced immense pressure to address safety concerns and restore public confidence in its operations. This time, the horror appeared to stem from a failure within the aircraft's operation itself, raising serious questions about maintenance protocols and pilot training. Experts speculated on potential causes, ranging from mechanical malfunctions to human error. The airline's procedures and maintenance came under intense scrutiny, with investigators poring over records and interviewing personnel to determine the sequence of events leading up to the crash. Every aspect of the airline's operations was examined under a microscope. The crash site, in a densely populated area, added to the tragedy, as homes and businesses were damaged or destroyed, and local residents were among the victims. The disaster highlighted the challenges of operating airports in close proximity to urban centers. The 19 fatalities on the ground were a heartbreaking reminder of the risks near city airports, sparking renewed debate about zoning regulations and safety measures in surrounding communities. The incident raised concerns about noise pollution, air quality, and the potential for future accidents. The event prompted urgent calls for a thorough investigation and a national reckoning on aviation safety, with demands for stricter regulations, improved training, and enhanced oversight of the airline industry. The public demanded answers and accountability. Even in an age of advanced technology, the potential for human tragedy remains ever present, underscoring the need for constant vigilance and a commitment to safety at all levels of the aviation industry. The memory of Flight 171 would serve as a constant reminder of the importance of prioritizing safety above all else. Investigators quickly recovered the black boxes, hoping for answers. The preliminary report revealed a shocking cause. The engines were starved of fuel. The switches controlling fuel flow to both engines had been moved from run to cutoff, effectively shutting them down. This happened just after takeoff, at 180 knots, with only a second between the two switches. These are guarded switches, requiring a deliberate two-step action to operate. The fact that both were activated raised immediate, alarming questions. Why would a trained pilot perform an action that would lead to certain disaster? The report offered no explanation, just the raw data. The focus shifted from mechanical failure to the cockpit, and the fuel switches became the silent, pivotal characters in this tragedy. Investigators were left desperate to understand why. The cockpit voice recorder added confusion to the mystery. In the final moments, a brief, panicked exchange between the pilots was captured. One pilot urgently asked, "Why did you cut off?" implying awareness that the engines had been shut down. The other replied, "I did not do so." Both denied responsibility, even as the data showed the switches had been moved. This contradiction is at the heart of the investigation. Was one pilot lying? Was there a catastrophic misunderstanding? Or something else entirely? The voices from the cockpit, meant to provide clarity, instead deepened the puzzle. Investigators were left with more questions than answers. This was the first ever fatal crash involving a Boeing 787 Dreamliner. Since its introduction in 2011, the aircraft had built an impeccable safety record. Airlines worldwide trusted the Dreamliner for its reliability and advanced technology. The crash shattered this perfect record, raising concerns about possible hidden flaws. But the investigation pointed to human or operational error, not a design fault. Experts found no evidence of a mechanical failure in the aircraft or its engines. The crash serves as a somber reminder. No aircraft, however advanced, is immune to disaster. It forces the industry to constantly reevaluate safety and training. Amid the devastation, one story defied all odds: the sole survivor, Vishwaskumar Ramesh. Seated in seat 11A next to an emergency exit, his location may have saved his life. He emerged from the wreckage, bloodied and dazed, clutching his phone, a surreal image of survival. Emergency responders rushed him to the hospital. His injuries were not life-threatening. As the only survivor, his account is invaluable to investigators, offering a human perspective on the tragedy. His story is a fragile link to the human side of the disaster. While his survival is a beacon of hope, it is also tinged with immense sadness. He alone carries the memory of the 241 others who did not survive. The aftermath was marked by grief and a demand for answers. Families gathered at airports, desperate for news, their pain both public and deeply personal. Air India set up assistance centers and pledged full cooperation with investigators. Boeing expressed condolences and offered technical support. The Indian government launched a formal inquiry, promising a thorough investigation. For families, official statements offered little comfort. They wanted the truth. Many expressed frustration over the mysterious circumstances and the cockpit exchange. Their voices drive the urgency of the investigation and the global quest for answers. As the shock subsides, a mystery remains. Why were the engines cut off? The investigation now focuses on the cockpit and the pilot's actions. Every piece of data is being analyzed for clues. The central question, who moved the fuel switches and why, remains unanswered. The search for truth is a duty owed to the 260 victims. The world deserves a clear explanation, and the relentless pursuit of answers is the most meaningful tribute to those lost. The tragedy is a stark reminder. Safety in the skies is a journey, not a destination.